So welcome to our pre-lecture videos for our exam preparation session. So the pre-lecture videos are designed to familiarize you with the content we are going to do during our actual sessions. So today we are going to explore utilities and portfolio choices. So utility is basically the satisfaction you get from a particular course of action. And the way to measure this is by using a function called a utility function, right? You will say is the utility function of wealth. In our case, we are mostly going to measure utility in terms of wealth, from the wealth you are going to gain from a particular investment, right? So the utility function has different characteristics. So the most notable one is the principle of non-saturation. So the principle of non-saturation basically states that the utility function should, all our utility function should increase. We expect our utility function of wealth to basically increase. This means that we expect our investors to prefer more to less. Like, you should have more satisfaction for every increase of wealth. So the next characteristics we are going to learn, which is dependent on an individual. So this one is for individuals or for investors who are risk averse. If an investor is risk averse, it simply means that the second derivative of their utility of wealth is going to be less than 0, right? Meaning that they will reject a fair gamble. And then if our investor is risk seeking, it simply means that the second derivative of their wealth is going to be greater than 0. It simply means that they are risk seeking, right? And some investors are actually some investors are risk neutral. There has to be 0. Some investors are risk neutral, meaning that the second derivative of the wealth is going to be equal to 0. So another question we are going to explore in our session is the degree of risk aversion, right? So there are two ways of measuring our degree of risk aversion, which is the absolute risk aversion. The absolute risk aversion, which we are going to denote by A, which is going to be measured by I can just say A of W negative the second derivative of our wealth, of our utility in terms of wealth, over the first derivative of our utility in terms of wealth. So if the absolute risk aversion is increasing, it means that the more your wealth increase, the more you are risk averse, because your absolute risk aversion is increasing. So that means that you as an investor who exhibit an absolute increasing risk aversion, it simply means that the more you get wealthier, the less you invest in risky assets. Another degree of risk aversion, the measure of risk aversion, is the relative risk aversion, right? Which is going to be equal to the negative of wealth, second derivative of our wealth, over the first derivative of our wealth, right? So this one measure the proportion of wealth you are going to invest as you get wealthier, whether you are going to invest more in terms of proportion or less. So the next thing we are going to learn for tomorrow is basically our portfolio choices, right? So in this section, we are trying to use the utility function to maximize our satisfaction based on the investment we are going to make. So we are trying to find an investment strategy, right? So to say that we are trying to find an investment strategy, it simply means that we are trying to find the weight of our investment. We are trying to find this. This is what we are trying to find. This is our investment strategy. This is our investment. Okay, so this one is going to be our investment strategy. Our strategy will be in such a way that we are maximizing our utility, and you are basically going to solve these two equations over here, so that you find your investment strategy, right? The last thing that we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session is going to be our linear pricing, right? So basically, linear pricing state that prices should be prices can be so prices have a direct proportion with the state prices, right? So this sign over here, it's is the state prices. So you can basically write your prices of an asset, or let's say security, based on the state prices. So if you have the state prices or the state pricing, then you can find the price of an say security. So there are other things that we can consider from here on, such as the risk neutral probability. So to find the risk neutral probability, you will have to say let mu 0, psi 0 be equals to the sum of all the state pricing, and Q will be the risk neutral probability of state S, and you will denote it by the state prices S over psi 0. So this will be your risk neutral probability. So anyway, we will discuss these things more in details, and I will give more examples and we will work them together. So thank you very much for watching this video.